Okay.
Really?
Meeting-
Hello there.
Meeting of the Board of Adjustments, starting, call to order, roll call first.
Okay.
Tyler Bradbury,
Here.
Kate O'Daly,
Here?
and Mr. Hartman here, Bill Higgins, absent, Fred Miller,
You?
okay, Tom Patterson,
Yes, ma'am.
Ken Budge,
Here.
okay,
Do these work?
Yes.
okay.
Turn them on. There's a little
Got a
bit.
name tag on
Yeah.
them.
Do we turn these on?
They should already be on, the little
Should be
red
a little
light.
red light on that.
Yep.
Hello, is it on?
I think yours might be
It
off
is.
now. Is it on?
Yep,
Okay.
okay.
It's such a big room.
Agenda item 1, BOA 22-02, Historic District Non-Contributing Property number 634, applicant Todd Conklin. Location is at 221B Youngblood Hill, Bisbee, Arizona. The appeal is, the decision is made by the Bisbee Design and Review Board on October 5th, 2022 for DRB applicant 22-66. Conditions placed on the approval of the application. So with that, I'm going to open the public hearing. And is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak?
I'm the applicant, so.
He's the applicant, so.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the reason why I stood down, in case anybody
Well,
wanted
you are welcome to come up and give us a presentation.
Good evening, and thanks for hearing my application. So, I don't know if anybody was able to go through the application and kind of see the pictures that were in there. So, this has been a 3-year project. We've been working through these houses, and they're predominantly crack houses, druggies, and stuff like that. We did one, and now we're in the one in the back, which is the one that's the application. And so we cleared out, with collaboration from the city helped me. We took out, I'd say about 11 to 12 tons of everything you can imagine. I started the project and it evolved. That's an understatement. And so I was given a lot of leniency through the city, the design review board, for the work that that transpired. But the one thing that they didn't approve was the siding. And I want to stress that this is a non-contributing structure. This house is already wrapped in this type of siding, T111, 90% of it. And so if it was 50 or 40% and there was a lot of surface area that could be changed, I would go with it, but we're talking about a very small section. And so what the DRB, what they're recommending is that we do like a shiplap, but the problem is it's going to look horrible aesthetically. That's the reason why I'm here, is that this house is about ready to look really, really bad. The opposite gable, I never got north, south, east, or west. Never shredded. It doesn't register with me. But the opposite side, which is a matching gable, has this same type of siding on it. And really, this is really the only thing that's in question is just this gable. So I'm asking the board to let me put the other 10% of siding that is already existing. It's 10%. And that's pretty much my spiel.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
City staff.
Let me call in Ken if you're.
Okay, sure.
Sure. So, as you know, I was part of the DRB for a long time, and I'm not here to make a decision one way or other, that's yours, but one thing we all have to consider is that if something is existing, all right, then that's fine, you move forward from that part. But once that existing has ever been touched, in other words, if he took off the existing and put the same thing back on, then that doesn't work, because you cannot leave, if it's the same old stuff. I went up there, I'm not sure whether the stuff is new stuff or the old stuff that was on there. So that's, my concern is that if you've touched anything that's existing, then it has to be brought up to code. I don't know what's happened here, but I just want to bring that up. That's how DRB looks at it, is it isn't just adding on to something that's already existing, but if you have gone ahead and moved touched something, then it has to come up to the new DRB and building code. So that would be my question on something I would like to have you guys consider, if it's been altered from the original, or if it's the original stuff that was there. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken.
Is Joe the one that did the inspections of it, or?
I'm sure.
Yeah.
He's our only
It's
inspector.
the only one, yeah.
I know, I just didn't know whether anybody, I mean, you did inspection.
I don't inspect, I just go up and look.
That's why we pay you the big bucks.
I was just,
So did you replace any siding at all?
Yes. But I was,
Right.
after it was installed, the
Okay,
DRB.
I need to stop you, I'm sorry,
sorry.
just for a minute. Let me follow protocol, so
Oh,
we're not ready
I'm
to
sorry.
question.
I'm sorry.
So, we've had the presentation by the applicant. I'm gonna
Do
consider.
you have more to present, Todd?
I was just gonna answer Fred's question, and I was gonna make one more comment.
And we'll
We
give you a
can't
chance.
question you yet, but
Yeah.
we can after a while.
No, you're fine.
Apologize.
And someone wants to recruit.
Yeah, I had
some citizens.
While we're gonna finish on the presentation from city staff.
Supersede that.
Okay, and I understand we have someone who needs to recuse himself.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what I needed to do, but I need to recuse myself from this one, on the qualifying party for the work being done.
Okay. I don't think I need to do anything other than say okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay,
just get up
It's
and.
on the record.
Oh, is that, go sit over there?
I wasn't sure.
Sorry.
You can come back to the next one.
Yeah, thank you.
This is what you get for being my friend.
okay, so first we're gonna move
glad I
on to
don't have to go
comments
to
by persons in favor. Is there anybody in our audience that would like to say anything in favor of this application? Okay. Are there any people opposed that would like to say anything? Okay, we'll move on. Now, we do have time for a rebuttal from the applicant.
Yeah, let me rewind here. I want to answer Fred's question. So there was, we call it X90 or T111. It's a grooved bore, 4x8 sheet, used as siding. It was already on the house, and then whenever we started the remodel, actually tear down, when we remodeled it, we put it back on, and the DRB allowed what I had put on to stay. I want to emphasize that. So they said, yes, this can stay. But they said anything new, it needs to be changed to the shiplap. So it's actually not going to be that much that's being added, and I'm not doing it just to sugarcoat my application. On the gable end, there was 4 windows that were approved, and we're going to inset glass in there. All we're doing is we're just wrapping those windows in that on the gable. It's not that much. So yes, it was replaced, but it was replaced and it was approved by DRB. It was okayed by them.
Might I make a question?
Yes, sir.
Was it approved by DRB before you did it, or, because you didn't have a building permit? when you
I
started?
totally understand that, Ken. Yes, and
I just want the whole.
we're fine. We're
Yeah,
fine.
Okay.
You're fine. I'm an open book. I did start. I was kind of under. I did get. You know what? Let's clarify on this. So I did get a permit,
Right.
but it was for the inside, and I started the build early. And I've taken my punishment from the city, I paid a double fine. And you know what I mean? And I've done what I've had to do, and there is a permit in place now, and we are moving forward. But all work, I'm directing this to you now, Ken. Hey, all work that has commenced and that has been completed has been approved by DRB, and it has also been inspected by Joel Ward and Javier Rodriguez, so that's 2 city inspectors. No, it's fine, it's good, thank you.
So is there any more rebuttal from city staff?
I'm not staff.
Okay. I know, sort of, kind of.
He's it. You are. But I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're it today.
For legality reason, you're the representative of the city.
All right, then, at this point, I'm gonna close the public hearing. Discussion of appeal applications among the board members. So now it's time for your questions,
Okay.
and you may stay there.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
So they said shiplap or some other thing is what the DRB is recommending that you put on this kind of 10% area. Isn't there, you know, because my concern is if we do something that is a variance that allows you to do something, somebody can go back in Warren or some other place that's doing something and they say, they can point to a decision if we allow you to do this. They can point to that decision and say, well, you allowed this person to do that on 10% or whatever percent of his house. So that's my consideration. So isn't there any other material that you could put up that would look all right, that would not be against what the regs are against that T11?
T111, check it out, Fred. So this is the gable end that's
Yeah.
existing.
No, I saw.
That's it right there.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to match what's there because I don't have to change that because it is existing. But you're gonna look at that side of the house
Uh-huh.
and then you're gonna walk to the other side of the house and aesthetically you're gonna be like something went wrong here. It's like a bad relationship. You know, and so I'm not trying to get away with anything
No, I know.
here. I'm worried about the appearance of my home. And I can't stress this enough. This is a non-contributing structure. This is not a historic home that's been remodeled and
Right.
made
No, I got that.
amazing, you know.
Yeah.
And then I also want to bring up that T111 was approved by an application a month before by the DRB. I have mixed feelings. I was on that board for 3 years, and I have mixed feelings about the way that the board is operating, and I kind of vocalized that in my last meeting with them. And, you know, I just want the house to look the same. That's it. I just want it to look the same, and that's the reason why I'm with you guys here tonight.
Okay. Tom Patterson. Now, this view looks like there's a lot of particle board
Yep, this one.
Yeah, yes, sir.
and open framing
Yes, sir.
and new framing on top.
It was,
So 90%, this looks like more than 10%.
well, all it needs to get filled in is just the gable, and
Now,
that,
what is this material right here?
can I approach it?
Yeah,
This is all that's existing.
and it's what?
That's T111.
Okay.
That's it's the exact same product as this, Mr. Patterson. It's the exact same thing. It's the grooved T111. It's not like OSB or something like that.
Look, well, I agree with you, Mayor. The code is, if it isn't, even if, no matter what you do, you want to improve it and make it more like what we want in the area. So, I mean, I know in my house, the person went back and put board and batten over the outside, and it wasn't a terrifically expensive thing to do. And anything that's added to the house after the fact is gonna have to meet the historic building code. And it, you know, it's, to say we should waive the historic building code so that this matches the rest of the house and it's not gonna look good, well, maybe the rest of the house ought to be changed. And do a nice place that's got a matching, whether it's board and batten or whatever it is. But I think that's what the intent of the historic building code is.
They're recommending a horizontal siding, but everything on the house is vertical.
I know, I don't know, if I was him, I would've told you to do the whole house.
But, you know, now I feel like I wanna clarify, you know, out of that board, 3 of them admitted that they didn't even walk up to the house. See, that's the reason why I'm like having problems with this, with these decisions that are being made. And you know, I love this city, and I'm from Bisbee, and I've done a lot of work for the city. And I was on that board, and I'm passionate about that board, but I just feel like mistakes are being made in that respect. I'm here asking you guys, I'm not telling you, it's your decision in the end.
Okay. Cato.
Yeah, Cato Gaylor. It sounds to me as though you've gotten some mixed messages, Todd, in that the DRB, from what you said, allowed you to put that T111 back on once you did some reconstruction. Is that correct? Is that what you said?
It was already installed. Whenever I got to my application process, they allowed me to keep it on there
Okay.
instead of taking it off.
Okay. I went up and looked at it,
Thank
and I think, I agree that it would be like a, bad relationship. I think putting on something that looks completely different than the siding that's on a majority of the house would make it look like an add-on, and that's not what you want to have with this work that you're doing. So, this house probably was constructed, what, the 1960s?
You know what, I think it was a 20s.
Okay, so
30s.
at that time, that was the historic. That T111 was historic at that time. And it seems to me as that if we want to preserve the historic integrity of Bisbee, then we also should put it in the context of when that house was built and what was allowable at the time that house was built. So I had some questions because I thought that you had gone ahead and put that T111 on before you got permission to do that, and that bothers me.
Yes, ma'am.
Because going and saying, I'm sorry after you've done something is
I
not
understand.
anything we should be rewarding. But on the other hand, you also said you paid some fines for that.
A hefty one.
Yeah, see,
What was the hefty fine?
It's a double permit, so it's a $50,000 permit fee, and then whatever that application comes out, it's ×2. So it's in the thousands of dollars.
It's double.
But is it $50,000?
No, it's a
No, no, no.
$50,000
The total amount.
application.
It's based on that amount.
Yeah, but the building fee is like $300, isn't it?
No.
It depends, it depends on
Well,
the
how
amount
much was
of
it?
it.
We're gonna talk-
We're in the 2000. We're like in the $2,000 range, Tom,
With the fine, or,
including the fine.
well, okay, I don't consider that exorbitant.
It is
A lot
what
of
it is.
places, if you build without a building permit, it's a lot worse than that.
I'm not up here acting
No,
like.
I understand, I wanted to know the amount, because it made it sound like it's in,
It,
Todd, your example of a relationship, this thing is kind of like, well, look, most of the house is ugly, so I should just make the rest of the house ugly too. And that's kind of a weird argument, when I know your talents, you've already got siding up there, you couldn't put something historical, that would match what people are looking at over that, without tearing it off? I mean, there's a lot of things you could do, isn't there?
but Tom, it does, whenever you build a house, there's tons of things that go into it. And so, when we looked at it originally, of course, tons of ideas come by. We could stucco this thing, we could, well, Tyler can vouch that finding teardrop siding is impossible. You can't find that anymore. He bought himself a machine to actually make it, and it's $7 or $8 a linear foot to process this stuff, to make it. the easiest way to do it and is to keep it the same. And the same, Mr. Patterson, is T111. The house is already in it. That's what they had on it. I didn't go in there and put it all up before I bought the house. You know?
No, I understand that, I'm not, that's the way the code is written. The code says if you're gonna redo any section of the house, it's gotta be done based on today's standards, not 1920. Not, you know, I mean, you can look at the pictures, you're doing a lot of work on this house. I mean, a lot, it's impressive, but I just think that you either need to find another way of enclosing the remainder of it in something that would be historically appropriate, and I'm not sure you can't do that, or,
What would you recommend?
Well,
I don't know, I'm not the builder.
I'm gonna.
I would recommend replacing it all, or go over it with an exterior. I mean, board and batten's really easy to do, Don.
Okay, I'm gonna have to let her finish her question.
I thought she'd finished.
She had
I
not,
had none, thank you.
sorry.
So we've established that you've already been penalized for going ahead and putting this T11 siding on that one section of the house before getting permission from the DRB.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Again, I think that, putting on different kind of siding on something that's acceptable by the city, the rest of the house was acceptable by the city, that's already there, the T111 is already acceptable. And I think that to ask you to put on a different kind of siding on the 10% of the house that's left is, I think it does you a disservice, because it makes the house look not desirable. Now, going to what Mr. Patterson is talking about, and you could fake historic by putting batten on, right? You could put batten over the T111.
But I have to do the whole entire house.
That's
Board
right.
and batten,
Well,
not just the batten.
Well, I
I
wanna,
mean, if you wanted to do phony,
Let's let her finish.
yeah.
okay.
I'm so sorry.
I do
She's
know,
commenting on what I said, so I was just responding to it, that's all.
Okay.
I do know that there's a house that is being constructed in town in Old Bisbee that's has a masonite kind of a base, and then they put the battens on top of that, so apparently that's acceptable by the city. It's not necessarily putting the whole board and batten on as well. However, again, this house was built in 1920.
I don't know, and like my old boss said, don't get me to line. I don't know, I don't know. And I
Okay, well,
don't,
that's not, my point is that it was built before we had design, before we had historic district guidelines. So if we are concerned about keeping Bisbee historic, really technically, having that house continue with that same siding that it had before the design review or before we became a historic district is actually honoring that historic integrity. It's just a different kind of house than is in the design review guidelines. So, honestly, I think that's what makes Bisbee interesting, is that everything's not looking the same. And that we have something that shows the history of our town. So, I think it's a lot to ask. Now that you've paid double fines on this, I think it's a lot to ask you to go back and to redo the siding of the whole house. That's my thoughts.
Are there more comments from the board?
Yeah, I think to say, this was a crappy historic building, so we should keep it a crappy historic building in the present, that doesn't fly. We want to improve the community, we don't want to make it to the lowest common denominator. And I'm sorry if it's, I don't know what's going on with the design review board, that's one of the reasons we're here. It gives people an opportunity to appeal to us. If all we can do is either approve or disapprove. I didn't quite, it said, conditions placed on approval of the application. What were the conditions they placed?
that was it, the reason why I'm here right now, the siding, that's it.
Oh, just us giving you a variance on the,
The 10%.
The 10%, yeah. is it my turn to speak? Can I speak? Okay, you know, it has nothing to do with this board or the DRB, but we are dealing with crack houses here. And we are dealing with junkies that are in these houses, and, I mean, it's taken a lot to get this house to where it is right now. And I understand that, it's not perfect by any means, and I own a lot of houses in Old Bisbee. And, you know, when I was raising up by your house by Circle K, that thing's historic as can be. It's got the, you know, teardrop, looks amazing. But, you know, this is how I found this house. Literally, wrapped in this type of siding. We did change the roof pitch. We put a vaulted ceiling with a gable, which I feel looks a lot better if you ever saw it before. If you guys are ever up in that area, and this is another thing about this house, this thing is tucked away where nobody even, I'm not gonna say nobody sees it, but it's not like driving by your house or even my house
Well,
on
but
Pace Avenue.
if you drive by my house, you can't see the 5 houses behind me.
You know what I'm saying? But this is
That's why
something.
one of them's got a Kontiki.
This is something that is tucked away, and I'm not, you know, bringing this up to say, oh, well, this house is hidden, we should break the rules, but this thing is literally hidden. And, you know, no matter what the outcome of this meeting is tonight, I just want to stress that I am the one who's up there cleaning up these houses. Like, these people are defecating on the floors, they're leaving syringes, they're leaving crack pipes. Anything that you can imagine that is horrible are in these houses. And I'm
And
sorry.
you're not hoping to turn any profit, you're just.
Well, I'm gonna rent.
No,
I'm gonna
I
rent.
mean, I understand, I remember, I went to Manhattan recently, and they had this building that had been condemned, not condemned, but it had been closed down across the street, it was about 40 stories high, and the guy told me, that building will take 2.5 years just to clean it out. Then, he talked about all the money that would have to go into it. And then his last comment was, and once it's done, Manhattan will have moved one more street bigger. But that's what people in every community, the deals that you can go in and get and flip are the ones that are the worst. But here's the thing, you're talking 10%. What if somebody comes in and says, well, you did 5, and I've only got 25%? I mean, what percentage do we say is okay and what percentage is not? Because the code, the historic building code said no percentage is okay.
But the board just approved a month before, Mr. Patterson, T111 siding. They approved it. That's what I'm saying, like this, you know what I mean? So,
In the part that's not done.
Okay, I'm gonna go to Fred's question.
The question, in the Joe Ward's staff report, he's got factors against approval. Mr. Conklin spent years as a member of the DRB, must have known he's in violation when he installed the panel siding and horizontal sliding windows. So I'm having a difficult time understanding what the sequence of installing the panels were. So, you had a building permit, and you
I had a building permit for the inside of the home.
Okay, all right, then, so that was found in violation. So you were doing stuff on the outside of the house, like taking off the siding?
We ended up dropping the whole addition because it was structurally unsafe. It was unsound. So we ended up redoing the whole thing. During the process, I installed the same siding that was on there before. We took off the T111 siding, we put on T111
You
siding.
put on new T1,
New.
okay.
But that was what was already there before.
Right, no, I'm saying that you mimicked what was there, but you put on new siding.
Yes, sir.
On how much of the house?
I would say it again? 30, I'd say about 30%. Maybe 30 to 40%. 25%.
So 25% of the
Yeah, so-
siding on the house is new T111.
Well, maybe 20%.
Okay, say 20%.
Because we're trying to get the other 10.
Okay, so you've already installed 20% on there.
That matches what is already on
What's
there.
on there, right, I got that, but it's new siding. It's not old siding, it's new siding.
It mimics what was there before.
Okay. So, when you put the new T11 siding on, did you think or know that you were in violation of the
No,
the
because
historic guidelines?
whenever you're on design review board, sometimes you can get a like for like, on a like for like basis. And no, I did not get the approval from DRB, but I figured that it would be a like for like situation. And in the end, it did work because the DRB approved the siding that I installed. They didn't make me tear this off
After the
after the meeting.
permit and after the meeting.
Fred, after I had the meeting with DRB,
Right.
they allowed me to keep
What
the
you
new
had-
siding.
What you had put on,
Yes, sir. They didn't say rip it off.
okay? But they have ruled that they don't want you to put any more on,
Yeah,
correct?
Yes, well,
Basically what they ruled, they said, yeah, it's okay to have done that, but you can't do any more. That's what they're saying, right? They're saying, we want you to do historic, other kinds of.
and that's why I'm here tonight.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
it's approved with the condition that there is no more T11.
And the deal is that, how do you replicate something like that? So, you know, I wish Tyler was actually up there because he would be able to really elaborate on this. So if you go put teardrop siding, that's not gonna look good. If you go ahead and put stucco, that's not gonna look good. If you go ahead and put a shingles, that's gonna look like crap. Every single thing that you're gonna put on there is gonna look like crap. I understand board and battening the entire house. I'm doing this house, I just bought the one below it. I'm just asking that the house would stay the same. That it was originally like this.
Okay,
Yeah, but nobody even knows what it originally was.
okay.
So, I mean, how do we know that?
Any more comments before we call a vote? From the board? All right. Time to call a vote. Call for a motion.
You either need to make a motion to approve or disapprove.
Right. I'll make a motion to approve I'm sorry, I'm so confused at this point. To approve the following conditions. No more T11 to be used instead of using shiplap. Is that the right?
Well, what you're doing, you're saying
Ma'am, if I
we're gonna
might-
Yes, please.
Okay, if you're making a motion to not approve his appeal,
Okay,
then that's the motion. I make a motion to not approve his appeal, or you make a motion to approve the appeal. We don't have to worry about it.
okay, I'm gonna make a motion to approve the appeal. Is there a second to my motion?
Second.
Call for a vote.
Okay.
Cato Daly,
Aye.
Melissa Hartman, aye. Bill Higgins, absent, I'm sorry, Fred Miller,
Nay.
and Tom Patterson.
No.
Okay. So,
Motion
fails.
Oh, it fails.
Fails.
yeah,
May I?
absolutely.
I would really encourage you to find some material that looks decent enough, it's gonna be a rental house, that looks decent enough, that conforms to these guidelines. Because that's the only reason that I voted against it, because I don't want to set any kind of precedent. I really sympathize with what you're doing, I think it's a good thing that what you're doing. I just don't think that it's a good thing for us to set a precedent to say that people can add stuff that's not in our guidelines. So,
You're good, Fred? No hard feelings?
no,
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate the ones that did support my application. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Todd.
Thank you, Todd.
All right.
Okay, moving on to agenda item 2. This is applicant Nicole and Justin Piper.
Does he want to stick around?
Yeah.
They're requesting a variance for a lot split dividing one of the three houses off the original lot. This was condition of sale from Nicole Justin Piper to Habitation Investments, LLC. I'm now going to open the public hearing on this item. Is there a presentation by the applicant?
I
Yeah.
sent,
Please step up to them.
Because that way they can stream you to the whole world.
Don't be
I
nervous.
sent,
Please identify by name.
my name is Nicole Piper,
Thank you.
I'm the applicant for this variance.
Okay.
Under the request on the application, I also attached a second page, and I'm wondering if you all got that?
Let me make sure.
Because I can just read it aloud as my presentation, if you don't know
Why
what it
don't you-
says.
Why don't you do that one, well,
Okay.
instead of us all searching?
So the variance is for the lot split. This was a condition of the sale from us to Habitation Investments. The proposed lot has been surveyed and shows it's 3,930 square feet. I was informed by Joe Ward that the minimum R1 lot in the city limits is 6,000 square feet. We request a variance in order to complete this split and transfer of ownership from Habitation to us. There are 3 existing houses at 308 Perung. Our proposal purpose is to gain ownership of 1 house. This lot split would not change the housing density of the neighborhood or any future development for the city. We are currently in process of turning said house from an abandoned, derelict house into a long-term rental. I won't read this verbatim, but I looked at the tax maps of that block, Perung Park, 3rd, and there are a lot of lots that are under 6,000 square feet, so it really is kind of the norm in that block, and that's about it. So the house that we're working on now has been abandoned. We're working on it even though we don't own it. Habitation Investments currently owns it because we need to get the split completed. It was supposed to be completed a year ago. I've taken over because they weren't doing it, so.
Okay, anything else?
That's about it unless there's questions.
We'll get to
Until
that,
there's
absolutely,
questions,
yeah. So now I'm gonna, are there comments by persons in favor of this variance?
This is residential.
Having seen no comments, are there comments by anyone opposed to this variance in the audience? Summarization by the city staff, which we don't have Joe here tonight, so does anybody have Joe's report real quick? Yeah, could you read that for us, please, real quickly?
I'll just read the nature of request and analysis of impact. Applicant requests that BOA grant a variance that would permit the establishment of a new parcel from the original 17,942 square foot parcel. A zoning code does not provide a specific minimum size for newly created parcels as it does for newly created residential properties in the historic district. Zoning code table 522 does list the minimum sizes for residentially zoned parcels, does not list any with any less than 6,000 feet. Analysis impact: City of Bisbee General Plan Unit 2003 land use identifies the subject parcel as being located within the Warren planning area. The objective 6.1b cites support commercial and residential revitalization and redevelopment projects that utilize existing residential and commercial structures. Separating these 3 units, or even this one, will encourage money to be spent on rehabilitation by making the smaller parcel more affordable. And his summary is, conclusion, request is for the B of A to grant a variance of our minimum parcel size, would enable one of the 3 homes at 308 Perung Avenue to be split off onto his own separate parcel and ownership. I mean, he's got factors for and against.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Is there a rebuttal by the applicant?
Oh, what?
Do you?
I don't choose to rebut that.
if I might, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
What we, in my mind, what we need to consider is, as the city developed, there wasn't these rules in place. And so more homes got added. And now, I don't know when exactly the 6,000 square foot came into being.
That was gonna be my
But-
question.
But, I don't know that, but it was some time ago when we accepted the new zoning codes. But we have to kind of look at what happened way back when versus what we're expecting to happen now. So that's all I have to say, is that in my mind, this developed over many years of putting more than one house on that lot. Probably wasn't a 6,000 square foot at that time, or it wouldn't have been allowed. Or if it happened and we allowed it, then the city's at fault for doing it, for allowing it, if there was that in place. But now there's this new rule, so we have to rule the way the rules are, and you're the only ones that can overrule. So, anyway, that's all.
Thank you, sir.
So there's a building
At this point, I'm gonna close the public hearing. Discussion of variance application among board members. Are there questions, comments? Fred?
A couple of questions. I looked it over today. You've got a lot of work in front of you. But I noticed there were two mailboxes there. You know, when you Google it, it says 308, but there's two mailboxes there. One that clearly says 308, and the other one is indecipherable. Do you know what the history of that was? Was there,
Yeah, so it's
was it
three
A and B or
separate,
something?
well, so, yeah, I don't have a clear answer for that because every utility company I've called has had a different address for the different houses. They go the wrong direction with water, they go the right direction with Southwest Gas. It's 302, 6, and 8. I don't know where 4 is, I really, it's been kind of a mystery to me, but I do know that the houses were all built at the same time. And they were built as 3 separate dwelling units. 2 of them, as far as I know, have renters in them right now. And so those 2 mailboxes, I believe, are being used for their mail.
So the one that said, the mailbox says 308 is being rented now, or that's the one you're renovating?
The one that we're renovating has been empty for at least 20 years.
Is that the one with the trailer in front of it?
No.
So you're which one are you talking about, the one on the far left?
It's right
The
on
one
the
that's-
corner.
On the corner, yeah,
Oh, no,
of
there's a
Third.
Okay, so there's one on the corner, then there's a middle one, then there's another one that's next to the
Hitching
hitching
post,
post
yeah.
lot.
Yeah,
Right?
right.
And you're talking about the one on the left.
If you're facing
If you're
the
facing
hitching
at the one
post,
on the left, sorry.
on the left, yeah.
Okay,
This help?
Yeah, there's a survey map.
yeah, well, no, this doesn't help,
Ken?
because it's,
Can I ask you a question? The 6,000 is for new construction, right? New residential construction,
It's-
not for remodels?
No, I mean, remodel wouldn't require a lot change. What this is changing a parcel number. Okay, it's one parcel right now in the county. We're gonna allow that to become 2 parcels
Right.
or whatever, so, yeah.
But is it for the purpose of new construction?
No, the 6,000 square feet is what is now in zoning code, that is the required amount for a parcel in the city of Bisbee. That's just about as plain as you can get. It's not to say to build new, but but when that came into effect, and that's why I said, I don't know what year that came into effect, everything that was in already, if this was already in,
Right.
was grandfathered in. You see what I'm saying? So even though these 3 homes didn't have 6,000, they're fine, okay? That's just the way it worked. And now you have to decide whether, okay, we'll allow you to go ahead and split off under the new rules that came over the top of this. In other words, those houses were produced, now we produce laws or ordinances in the city. and-
Okay, so the 6,000 is city code, not historic code?
No,
Okay.
and I don't have the year when that came
And-
into effect.
What is the size of the 2 parcels across the street? See those parcels you were pointing, those are tiny.
They're tiny.
They're less than
There's several that
6,000.
are less
Yeah.
than 3,000.
Yeah,
I think that those two parcels there will be almost the same size as the one parcel they're trying to create.
they'll be this size or this,
It'll be the combination of the two.
the
So
two,
if you take that yellow section, you split that into almost 3.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now, you have to keep it under 6,000 square feet because of how close the houses are built together, correct?
That's correct, so if we are not able to get this variance, what we'll have to do is create an L-shaped lot and try to convince the current owner of the property to let us have the front yard of the other two houses. It kind of won't make sense,
Weird,
but
yeah.
yeah, just to try to meet the code.
If I might say more, the whole idea, I believe, behind the whole 6,000 square feet, and we have setbacks, we have so much on sides, and so it became when fire protection and those kinds of things started to come into being, so all that was put into code at that time, and, you know, what existed has already existed, and this is what kind of existed, I believe, before that all
Yes.
came over the top of everything. In other words, the other houses that were in there at 3,000, they were probably fine under code, because we didn't have any setbacks or anything back then, but now we do, and you're kind of right. From here on out, if you were gonna build new, we would not allow that,
Right.
but these things progress over a lot of time, so we have
Well,
to.
the historic building code allows the Board of Adjustment to increase and decrease setbacks, you know, making dimensional changes if it fits with the nature of the neighborhood.
Good point.
And that's, you know, that's why when we did the sky,
That's good.
and they said he's not setback enough, but the other houses were 38 inches apart.
Yeah.
So, it looks like this is gonna be bigger than the lots that are right across the street already. My house is on 2,500 square feet, I'm feeling like cheated here.
No, in Old Bisbee, it's 4,000, it's not 6.
Oh, okay.
So don't feel so cheated.
Other comments?
I just have a question. How, if you're looking at it as fire safe, fire protection, and that sort of issues, how does that play into our
Well,
decision?
Now I'm going outside of my purview, but I was a firefighter, and I will tell you, the buildings are gonna exist one way or the other. So by doing this or not doing this, we're not making it any safer or not. Okay, that's, if they were coming before you and saying, we want to split this lot and build a house right next to the one that's there, I would say absolutely not, because that's why the new codes are there. But they're already existing. If we as firefighters show up and they're close, we're just gonna have to deal with it. We kinda saw what happened in Saginaw when they are really close, so that's kinda why the new rules came over the top, I think.
Can I also speak to that? These
Certainly.
houses are built of 100% cement, they're monolithic cement structures. So that's the good news on fire. And also, there's a closed permit for the separation. Oh, right. Like the distance between the houses have been approved by Joe Ward.
Okay.
I have a curiosity question. Well, just, you know, looking at these 3 little houses next to each other, one of them clearly has a yard that's fenced in and stuff like that. Did they offer the whole thing for sale? And you only wanted one piece, is that?
So
How did this happen?
We bought the entire lot, which goes all the way up to the ditching post.
Okay.
The wall of the ditching post, basically, with these 3 houses on it. And through the process of that, and in the beginning of owning it, we pretty quickly realized that there were some tenants in it that have been there for 30 years that have been working on it themselves all that time, and they've been paying the same rent that they paid when they moved in. And, you know, and they're nice guys, and we didn't really have the heart, honestly, to kick them out because they've been there, they're dug in. One of them recently had a stroke. So there was this whole emotional situation for at least me, where I was like, I can't do what needs to be done here. I mean, even though there's philosophical questions with that, but we found a buyer that was willing to do what needs to be done with those houses, and also made an agreement, a specific agreement, to not kick out those guys for a time, which was in our purchase agreement. And so part of the reason that we decided to sell was because of the tenants and not wanting to deal with the tenants. There was the empty house, which is the one that we decided to keep, and so we kind of, like, we bought it, and then we resold it with the condition that we would keep the empty house. And that's what we've been working on. Does that answer your question?
I think so. So
That's a
Habitation Realty or Association, whatever,
Yeah,
they own the other two houses then?
they do. They own all three right now.
They own all three and you're buying the one from them? Did you sell all three to them?
Mhm.
Okay,
On the condition
on the
that
condition that they don't
the
take out the
lot would
gas?
split and they would transfer ownership of the empty house to us.
Okay.
Which would create a separate plat with separate ownership for the house you're gonna keep.
Yes.
Right.
I'll make a motion if you would like.
Is there any more discussion from the board?
No, I just wanna make a comment.
Please.
Number 306 is missing because of the space between the two houses,
Oh,
just so that you know.
304?
Space
Yeah.
between.
Okay, 'cause
Where you
it's-
have 302, 302,
302,
304,
6, and 8.
Yeah.
2, 6, and 8?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the spaces between the houses.
Oh, thank you.
The space between where?
Yeah.
The way that the
Between-
numbers of the houses are made up all depends on, if you've got two houses right next to each other and you can't fit anything else in between, then the numbers go consistent. But if there's a space between the houses that could potentially be something else, or depending on the spacing, the numbers skip.
No, but there's not enough space. There's no space between the houses.
We don't know who made up those addresses.
Yes.
But that space could have an address if you wanted.
Yeah.
For a doghouse, Brett.
Okay.
We have a motion on the floor.
Is there a
Do we?
motion?
No,
No,
not
we
yet.
don't.
Yeah.
We have a motion?
I would like to make a motion that we approve this variance that's come before us.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Roll call? Tyler?
Aye.
Pardon me?
Aye.
Aye. Cato?
Aye.
Melissa Hartman? Aye. Fred Miller?
Aye.
Tom Patterson?
Aye.
That's it. Motion passes.
Thank you very
Thank-
much.
Thank you for listening to us.
We see a Holiday Inn there, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Whoa, they're not in the historic district yet.
I don't care
Just
about Holiday Inn.
I believe that the reason there's no 304 is that there used to be a laundromat there, and I forgot.
A
But
laundromat.
that must have been 304. Yeah.
But there's a lot of commercial around.
If there isn't anything else, I'll close the meeting.
Motion.
Motion.
Motion to close the meeting?
I move we adjourn.
Adjourn.
Second?
Second.
Second.
Aye.
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 We are adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.